Alright, moving on to our next Patreon request, and this one comes from Major Mercury, who asked me to do a X-Files Gravity Falls crossover. As always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where you guys can hit the third tier that allow you access to do so. But other than that, let's get started. So the story begins with Mulder and Scully being called in on a murder case in Portland. And essentially what it is that they discover that the murder victim was this older man, and the dude in question was had checked into a hotel. Like they're basically getting this whole story about this older man, and they're like trying to like piece it all together. And what it is that they discover this old man checked into this hotel, like, all freaked out and worried, and always looking over his shoulder like someone was going to get him. Like someone was just after him. And Mulder's, like, piecing it together, is, like, looking over the body. He's like, hey, Scully, look at this. And he sees, like, this mark, like, this tattoo on his wrist. And it looks like a cult symbol. So Scully's just like, so you think he was killed by some secret society? And Mulder's like, maybe. Maybe he just pissed off the wrong Elks Club. Mulder and Scully head back to, their offices and start looking through the symbols from the body. They're also going over the rest of the testimony in this guy's life. And they're going through his backstory, and like, yeah, he was this librarian. Guy's name was Charles, and he was this librarian, and he was part of a society. He was part of this group called the Society of the Blind Eye. And Mulder's like, I've heard of a lot of secret groups like the Illuminati and all these others, but I've never heard of like the Society of the Blind Eye. Like, I have no idea what that one is all about. So, as they're like looking into it and trying to look over like what this could be, what could be in it, the big thing they're trying to the major thing they're trying to figure out, Mulder and Scully are like trying to like piece together, is like, how did this guy get killed? Because for all intents and purposes, it looks like he almost died in his sleep, but as they looked over the body and saw, like, yeah, clearly he suffocated, so someone came in, smothered him, and walked out. And they are kind of trying to figure out, like, who could have done that? Like, who could have snuck into a room, like, and leave no evidence and get out? And they're like, well, maybe Mulder's like, well, maybe the Society of the Blind Eye can tell us. So as they're like, they go back to the hotel and discover the room is just completely combed through. Like, someone came in there, even though it was like a crime scene, someone came in there and cleaned it all up. And they're like, well, that's new. So they're trying to look it over and find anything that was missed. And they do talk about, like, oh yeah, there are these couple guys who came in, took some stuff and left. They said they were the View. They said they were FBI. So now they're like, well, now something's really going on. Then there's another murder that occurs, that is similar. Like, the FBI, like some FBI agents, like, pass along that, hey, we've got 2 other cases of these people who have the same kind of like mark on them, and they've been found dead. So they're Mulder and Scully are like slowly piecing together that something just ain't quite right with this. Like, there's something, the Society of the Blind Eye, like, they're slowly piecing together what it is, and they are like followers of this being called the Beast with One Eye. And they see this, as they're like investigating, they see this recurring symbol of a triangle being, and Mulder's like, that's what they worship? Like, even Scully and Mulder are like, that's the Beast with One Eye? And Mulder's like, maybe it could be like a psychopomp where that's the form it takes, and it could be something like beyond. And Scully's like, Mulder, do you really think there's a society that worships like some kind of triangle man? And Mulder's like, oh, that's what I'm saying. So all roads point to Gravity Falls. to this little town that's been said, and even Mulder's like, I've heard multiple rumors about this town. I've heard nothing but massive paranormal activity for decades has originated from this town. It's like a mecca. So they're driving around asking what's going on. Like, they start asking questions, and like they're talking about asking like, is there like any murders that occurred or anything like that has happened? And they're like, no. And are you FBI? And they're like, yeah. I refuse. Like, they're like, oh, we're gonna go. So Mulder's already like, yeah, something weird is going on here. So eventually their little travel leads them to the Mystery Shack. And Stan is the person to greet them, and he's like, kids, the government's here, burn the evidence. So Stan is already like, so they're already like, hey, wait a minute, aren't you Stan Pines? You're wanted by the FBI. And Stan's like, smoke bomb. And he tries to take off. Mulder and Scully like capture him and are like, do you have something to do with these murders in the and what do you know of the Society of the Blind Eye? And he's like, Society of the Blind Eye? I thought those guys got wiped out. Uh-oh, I talked. So Stan is like, all right, they were a society. There was some weird shit that there was some shenanigans that happened, and there was some wild shenanigans, and the Society of the Blind Eye worshiped this being called Bill Cipher. And turns out they weren't the only group and it wasn't just here in town. And they've been all over the place. My family and I have been, shall we say, taking care of the matter. And they're like, are you confessing to murdering people and he's like, trust me, if you knew what this society's all about, you would let me go and let my family handle the situation. So Mulder and Scully are like, no. Like, Scully's like, we're gonna book him, but Mulder's like, I think he is trying to like stave off something worse. Like, I think he is telling the truth. But Scully's like, look, regardless, he and his family have been killing people, or have just like said like, yeah, we're killing people. So we have to book him and his family. But Scully goes to talk to the director, while Mulder's like, if I, are you saying there's more to this? And he's like, yeah, way more. And he's like, I'm about to do something really stupid. I need you to punch me. And he's like, all right. So Stan cranks up, punches him, and pretends to like escape. And Stan escapes. Ford picks him up, and the family drives off. And the Mystery Shack gets cleaned out. So now they're on the run. And Scully's like, funny how this old 70-year-old man managed to overpower you, Mulder. He's like, hey, he was a lot stronger than he looked. I don't think we'll ever find him again, but if we do, maybe they might help us in the future against whatever this thing they're hunting. So Scully's like, I'm gonna pretend I'm gonna pretend you didn't just aid and abet a murderer. So there you go, guys. That is the X-Files Gravity Falls story. This one's more, I wanted to treat this one more like an X-Files episode rather than a full-on crossover, and kind of leave things in the dark still with this story. But yeah, you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of this story? Did you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. Once again, I'd like to thank Major Mercury for his Patreon request, as well as continued patronage. And like I said, as always, if you'd like to have a Patreon request done yourself, just hit the link below, head on to my Patreon in the description box below, and hit the 3rd tier, and that'll allow you access to do so. But other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.